So the point of the efficiency test on the compressor is to assess firstly whether or not you have a leak through the reed valves on the valve plate of this compressor, as well as you also want to check whether or not your service valves are working correctly and that they are actually sealing at the exit point and entry point. This is the suction line, so this is the entry point of the service valve, and you want to make sure that it's not leaking through there when you front seat that valve. The same applies to the discharge valve, where as it exits here, you want to make sure that this valve actually seals at this point when you front seat this valve. So there are three things we're looking for. Number one, does this compressor leak through the reed valves? Number two, does it actually seal on the front seat of the service valve on both the suction and discharge valves? The first thing we're going to have to do here is we'll have to pump the system down. Now, the standard procedure is to pump a system down into the liquid receiver, but for the sake of this test, we are actually going to front seat the suction valve so that there actually is still some pressure at this point so that we can do the test whether or not the gas is coming through that valve there. Same is going to apply to the discharge valve. So the first thing we're going to do, I'm just going to run you through the steps just broadly at first. We're going to front seat the suction valve. We're going to pump the system down. Once the system is pumped down, we're going to assess how deeply this compressor can actually pull into vacuum. So if you look at the actual service manifold, for the sake of this test, we're going to use an analog manifold. You want to make sure that this compressor can actually pull down to at least 60 kPa below zero. That is the standard test mark and the standard pass mark for this compressor during the trade test. So as we're pumping down, we want to watch this needle and we want to make sure whether or not it can come all the way down to 60 below zero. That's obviously in terms of kPa. That's going to be the first thing we're going to check, whether or not she pumps all the way down into vacuum and a deep enough vacuum, which is 60 below zero. The second thing we're going to do, as these valves are isolated or the compressor is isolated from the rest of the system, we're going to assess whether or not the pressure at this point is increasing and whether the pressure at that point, which is the discharge valve, is decreasing.